Welcome back to Whitt Acres. We are going to be doing our week 3 garden tour for this season of 2022. I'm here in zone 6A and I'm gardening on 4 acres. We have a lot of beautiful plants here that are continuing to grow each week. My dad got this place started with a lot of nice mature shrubs, including this 9-bark behind me. But I am expanding the garden now into a botanical paradise, so you can follow along and see as it progresses through the year. Behind little girl here is the poppy bed. We added this little poppy bed right in front of the 9-bark stone raised bed. It is a nice mature 9-bark now. Well, it's a mature 9-bark and it's putting off a nice show at the moment. But for a lot of the year it looks bad because we keep getting some dead branches coming through. But I still need to come in here and prune it, but I've been waiting until after the bloom cycle so I don't stun it too bad. And it's putting on a nice bloom, so I'm glad I waited. It's actually finishing up. It all was covered in white like snow, those ones, and then as the flowers finish they turn to red, to a bright red, so it really adds another layer of interest to the plant. And it's putting on a really nice show right now. What do you think, little girl? Do you like it? I'm dog sitting now, so I got Bub and little girl with me walking around. We have another poppy. This one actually volunteered here and I let it go. It was just one specimen plant, so I figured it'd look good there by itself. Right beside that is a cream daisy I got from Proven Winners. I forget the actual cream color it is, but it's some type of cream daisy. The first one was white, but the new ones are coming on cream. It was on the clearance rack at Lowe's, so got it half off. We got a variegated hosta, and behind that we have a Calla Lily coming up right along the blue fescue and dianthus row, which is still looking good. Really like how this turned out. Don't mind the grass, haven't had time to mow. Puppy sitting there next to the walkway that we added here recently. I think we already saw this on the last week, but I think it looks good and I like the way the marble's still shining. Under the red maple by Puppy, we have some volunteer broccoli that's been popping up all through the red maple mulch here. And we have a bunch of little baby broccolis. They're not going to amount to anything. You can see they just go to seed and flower right away. But I've been pulling off the leaves and giving them to Mumbles, my goose, and he's been loving them. My brother lent me his gator while I'm watching his dogs for the week and trying to get some things done. Got some sedum popping up in the hosta row where the lilies are putting on a ton of buds this year. This will be their 3rd year, so I think they're going to put on the best show this year. Same with the hostas. But look at all these buds. They're all doing really well. And the yellow maple's leafing out beautifully as well. This thing puts off a lot of nice color. And it will turn green, but for a long time in the spring to early summer it's this bright yellow. But the only lily that's not putting up a bud yet, which it still may put up one, but I'm kind of losing hope. This is the one that Bub crushed with a stone last year, and you can see how much it's struggling compared to the other ones. Another one with a nice tall set of blooms. And over here at the end next to the other pathway I put in is a big one. This one is sitting probably 4.5 feet high. And yeah, it's gonna put on a nice show. Hey puppy, hey, you with the face, get out. And the tail. You're not allowed in my garden, Pop. Stay out of there. Put in a hosta and cleaned up the weeds in this area, but I haven't been able to add the soil and get it the way I want it yet. So it still looks like this. And I plugged in a bright red barberry over here, and orange rocket I believe it is. Yeah, I still have the tag. Orange rocket barberry, and that replaced my 16 candles that died. So we'll see how this does. It's not in the sunniest of locations, but where I pulled it out of the nursery, it was doing pretty well, and it's getting about the same amount of sun over there. Nectarine trees looking nice and full after its pruning. I don't see any fruit on it. Didn't really look it over, but I only had a couple blooms, so I'm not really expecting any fruit. I did get in my 100-foot row of potatoes, and they are all popping up now. We got a bunch of them popping up all down the line, and it's looking good. I'm gonna be hilling them soon with another layer of hay that I have up in the barn. So as they come up, I'll hill them and keep doing that. Ooh, We also have some sunflowers popping up that I sowed in the back side of the row. I think there's some more popping up right next to a potato. But yeah, we got some sunflowers popping up for some color in here. The valerian is all in full bloom. Tiny, tiny flowers. Aw. Bob! Got my chickens out in the day pen. And Bub's a bad dog, so I can't let him up there with my chickens. Echo Pup's good. He won't eat any of them. Bub, he already scratched his nose this morning trying to get at him on the fence. Yeah, that's your limit, Bob. Don't go past that point. Come on, Echo. The valerian has beautiful white clusters of flowers, and it's looking great right now. In between these two T-posts, just inside the potato row, I put in a bunch of squashes and summer squashes. I think they'll vine out nicely. They can go through the potatoes. They can come into here underneath the maple into the food forest. And I can just let them do their thing over here. Hopefully the dogs won't step on them too much. And I also put a runner bean, a climbing bean right here on this side, so I can run it up this post, or put some strings between the posts and run it up that. I was able to get my tomatoes in, so I got a marigold on both ends and in the center of the tomato row here. And then I have a blueberries tomato right here on this end, already putting on a little flower. Looking healthy. And then I have 12 Marzano tomatoes going down this whole row. And I don't know if I'll use these strings again or use something stronger, but for now the strings are there and they're helping out hold the younger plants up. And then right here the leaf changes, so that's a Marzano, and then right here is a Brandywine. So then I have 6 Brandywine to finish off the row, and then I dotted some basil down through here as well, just to confuse some of the pests, because I think it worked really well last year. Last year I planted a ton of herbs with all of my plants, so peppers, tomatoes, everything I planted vegetable wise, I put in basil everywhere, and it really worked. I didn't have any pest problems last year at all, which was really surprising. I also sprayed some BT as well, but after the slug pressure, I didn't have any of the summer pest pressure that chickens were making noise. I just had to make sure where Bub was, and he wasn't up there. He's good. So I think putting the herbs with all your plants really helps, especially the potent smelling herbs. You just don't want to put the really invasive herbs like mint or probably thyme. Some of those will really take over your garden space. But for me out here, the basil worked out really well. I didn't plant as many basil as I did last year, but that's just because I was cutting back on how much I was growing. But I still got a few of them into this row and some other places. Pyracanthia, or the 10 by 10 as we call it, because it'll get 10 by 10. But has tiny little flowers, and it's blooming right now, just finishing up. On the back side of the island garden, we are filling up here. We have the tree marigold getting nice and big. The yucca's looking good. No shoots on this. Oh wait, ow, that's sharp. But we do have one really crooked shoot that's stuck in some leaves, it looks like. Yeah, we might get a tiny little bloom off of this one. They are biannual, so they don't bloom every year unless you put a bunch of them together in different times. And then they should bloom pretty much every year, because some won't and some will, like the one we have out front. The row of lilies is coming on beautifully, has buds all over it, and yeah, I think that's gonna look real nice this year, being its second year. Behind that row we have weeds. But no, we have some ferns popping up here, and some astilbe that I got in the ground late last summer, and they're actually putting on some buds as well. So we have some more astilbe. Oh, and a bleeding heart that I put in here at the same time is actually blooming. So these will spread pretty readily, and usually they run to the sun, but we'll see how they do back here in the woodland area, which I have some more astilbe going down this line, and another bleeding heart that's a little too young to bloom, and another fern with some bleeding heart. So this area is going to fill in real nice over the years as these lilies fill in their row and everything fills in behind that. I even have a peace lily back there that's putting on a bloom, just starting out. This viburnum on the corner did bloom. I took a picture of it while it was blooming, but you can see it is done now. But this came from my brother's house in New York and we didn't know what it was, so we just put it in and we figured out now it's a viburnum, and I think it's going to work out right where it is. Just going to have to keep it pruned back from getting too big. This iris, the purple one on the end here, it put off the biggest iris blooms I've ever seen. It's all curled up now, but I did take a picture while it was in full bloom. But this week, this thing just put out just the largest bloom. I had to cut the yard around it, but this was worth it because it was bigger than any of the other ones I have here. Which the yellow ones, which my dad put in, are a lot smaller, but they've been here a long time and we had lots of them. That's why we have them up at the barn. But I separated them out into groups here because they were kind of filling in that whole front area, and I wanted to get them spread out so that they could do a little bit better. And I think they're doing really good this year. They're right behind all my colored irises, so the light purple and yellow ones, they're finishing up now. And then we have the real deep dark purple, almost black, and they're putting off their last blooms right now as well. The lilies are coming up soon, so you know this is a sun border, which my hostas are in here too, but they can handle full sun in my climate. But this whole area is perennialized to where once the daffodils start blooming, it'll bloom all summer long until the end. So we have the daffodils, the tulips, we have crocus, allium, irises, Asiatic lilies, daylilies, hostas, and gladiolas. Don't know if I'm missing anything. There's a sea holly. I always forget the name of it. Blue sea erigium right here, and it's starting to grow out and put on its little cones. There's actually a ton of volunteers down here. If you look past the thistle, there's a ton of those blue sea erigium leaves. So I'm going to try and dig those up and separate them out as they volunteer up here. Really need to get rid of that thistle too, but I have just been so far behind on the weeding because there's a lot of places to weed here, and whenever I don't mulch, the weeds they're too fast and can't really keep up with them, because I'm not going to go around and spray everything through the garden. You just have to deal with a little bit of weeds if you don't mulch early enough. But yeah, there's sunflowers coming up here that volunteered, so I'm trying to leave those go and not take those out. Candy corn spirea, this one is, and it's starting to put on its buds as well. The columbine right behind it is finishing up, and hopefully it's going to drop some seeds and start spreading back here. And this Empress Woo hosta I plugged in is on its second year, putting up some bloom stalks early. This is a little strange. I think that's an Empress Woo and not a peace lily, but yeah, it's already putting on its stalks. Behind that, you can see the rhododendron is dropping a lot of petals, just blanketing the ground over here and around the bench, and it's just looking really nice. I like it. Love the structure of that rhododendron, and I love how it drops its petals. It's just a really nice area over here. On pop. Also over here shooting up some flower buds is the heuchera, putting on tiny little flower buds. And I always leave them bloom. Some will cut off the blooms, and because they're not really desired for their blooms, but I really like letting the plant live out its whole life cycle. So we let them go, and I enjoy the blooms when they come, because they even come multiple times during the year. At least they did last year. It wasn't just a bloom in the early summer, they rebloomed. And they look really nice next to those lime green hostas in there. Oh, littles, you pretty girl. Bob, what are you doing in there, Bob? Take the path. Don't step on my Calla Lily. Oh, that's right. So over here along the path where Bub's tramping, hey Bub, stay, are my Calla Lilies. Whole Calla Lily row popping up along that path. Stay, Bub. All the way down. So I need to fix that brick. Oh, Bub, don't step on my lilies. I want to see those in the summer. And it's pretty unbelievable that I got another sunflower volunteered right here at my shepherd's hook. It's really nice. I guess the birds just like to drop it, and I always get one. Well, not always. This is my second year that I'm getting one, and I'm trying to keep it alive, trying to mow and weed around it so it doesn't die, but that's pretty cool. I'll be able to strap it right to that as it grows, and I'll have a nice blooming sunflower here again this year. You just can't plant that if you wanted to. I was able to get some sweet potato vine starts from my aunt that had extras, so I brought them out to get some sun, and I'll be planting those out into the food forest, and hopefully I'll be able to get some sweet potatoes this year. The Oh So Easy roses are starting to bloom beautifully. Well, the paprika is done, the lemon zest is done, but the double pink and the urban legend red are blooming now. We also have the blooms coming up on the roses that I pruned back too early, and they got frosted and pretty almost died. But they're starting to put on some growth, so I will be moving these, cleaning up this bed, and putting in the Oh So Easies, but just haven't been able to get to that yet. We got Bub listening to his favorite show on the patio. That would be my baby ducks. Hi. Hi, Mumbles. What are you saying, Mumbles? Alright, yep. So we got the baby ducks on the patio, and Bub watches. Been feeding that baby goose and all my ducks out of my cold frame. So the cold frame has been a little bit neglected, but I have been able to harvest a lot of this lettuce and keep harvesting the lettuce for my goose in there and the ducks. The goose has eaten this whole entire row in less than a week, and he's just a little baby goose gosling. Behind that, we have a bunch of radish going to flower. If you never saw a radish flowering, that's what you got right there, and you can actually take these and eat them. They taste like really mild radish, which is really good on salads, so try it out sometime. Behind that, we have a little pea growing, and putting on some peas. Look at this. I haven't even looked in here, but we got 3 nice bulbous peas in here. So we can have that for dinner or lunch. Do have a Swiss chard growing. The bunching onions are starting to bunch. And another pea in the corner over there. In the bank here, I need to cut out all my daffodils because they are finished. Starting to lose their color. I like to leave them on as long as I can so they can soak up enough energy for their bulb for next year. But it's about time to get them out, because behind it we have some, I think it's a sweet bubblegum Veronica maybe? Something like that. But yeah, the pink one's blooming and the blue one's blooming. I forget what the name of them are, and I didn't leave the tag in here. And there is clover growing everywhere. So, gotta get these weeds when I see them. There's a lot of weeds. But we have another miniature blue sea iridium growing right here. You can see even it drops a lot of volunteers. There's one right there and another one right there that I'll be pulling out and moving around. So the pond is still under construction, still working on it, but we did make a ton of progress recently. So definitely go over to the aquatics channel and see how the build is going on this pond. But it's pretty much done down this point, and you can see I'm starting to get some water in here. I've been filling it up slowly and letting the rain fill it up as well. But we have some water in the bottom. I do have to work on the waterfalls still, but I'm trying to get this whole basin stoned in. That way I can fill it up with water. I can tighten up the edges, and then I can start running the pump to circulate some water in here and start filtering and getting some of this dirt out of here. We did get the lilies planted into their milk crates, so hopefully they can survive in those until I can actually plant them where they're supposed to go when I get the water circulating. But it's really coming along out here, and it's going to look really nice when it's done. I am trying to keep it looking good while we're working on it, so I've been planting it out. We have some zinnias up there. We have portulaca drift around that island stone. That's starting to bloom, looking nice. Still waiting on the dahlias back there, but I just got these things in. The only thing looking real big and healthy is the volunteer sunflowers. I believe those are Tupelo sunflowers, the multi-headed ones, and they stay about 2 to 3 feet tall. So they're looking really nice, especially being volunteers. They're going to be real strong and put off a nice show this year. I went with Vista Petunias, Proven Winners Vista Petunias, to make a nice drift of pink in here. And then a creeping Jenny for a splashy yellow. Little girl, so cute. On the right side of the waterfall, I have a little bit larger drift of creeping Jenny here. I even found some creeping Jenny over down by the garden. You saw that in one of our videos. And then I brought those up, and I'm trying to get those to work in with the one that I bought. So we'll create a nice long drift. And then I'll have another pink drift back there. A little bit bigger as well. The Lithadora is still blooming. It's putting off a little bit. I got these ones this year. It's just a different plant that I've never seen before. They were covered in blue blooms for a while when I got them in the earlier spring, but now they're just finishing up with some blue little specks. Right beside that, I plugged in a lemongrass, and I just wanted to break up the texture and get a little bit of height out here, a little bit of wind blow. Behind that, I have a spot for something, and it's definitely going to have to be something nice, and it has to be nice for a long time. It can't be a short bloomer or anything, and it can't be too tall because we don't want to block the view going out, so it has to be under 3 feet. Also grabbed a Silver Falls dichondra, so that's probably going to be plugged in right there. I just have that sitting there so I can picture it for a while and see if I really want it there. Next to the row of pink impatiens. These will fill out really nicely, and I'm going to have more impatiens all around the pond, actually in the water in certain spots, because impatiens do really well in the pond. And the lupin is still putting off a beautiful show. It looks great. Oh, puppies. I don't know, littles. I think Chad's here to pick you up. Alright, well, Bub and little girl are going home, so it's just me and Echo Pup. Okay, back to the lupin. Just looking still beautiful. I'm waiting for a color change because I know some of the last ones will be a nice lighter blue color or pink even. So I'm waiting for the color change on these things. But you can just see how they go. They can go from a nice deep dark purple all the way to a bright pink. And some of them even look relatively blue. Alright, I don't like filming in front of the house, but we'll go through here real quick and show you what's happening right now. I haven't actually spent a lot of time out here to make it look really nice, but there's a couple things blooming, and we have some peonies out here too. All this bright green is volunteer burning bush, and it goes pretty much around the whole ring here. I need to do some weeding to help it out, but I just really haven't been out here in the front to do much work out yet. The dianthus is still blooming here on the corner. It's just massive. I have some big old volunteer maple trees growing right out of my knockout roses. And like I said before, the yucca out here, there's multiple yuccas in here, so we get blooms every single year. So you can see nice probably three nice strong stalks coming up out of this one this year. Then we have another rose here blooming very nicely, deep red, next to the Russian sage that's coming up. And one of the last peonies to bloom is the pink ones out here in the front. So we still have more coming, and they're nice, fluffy, and soft. Oh, and they're really fragrant too, so really love having the peonies. Should probably cut a couple of these and bring them inside to bring in the fragrance, but I like having them out here too. We have some white ones blooming, and they're about finished. This white one is actually doing really good this year. It's getting real big. And it has a lot more blooms to come yet as well. It'll be a nice fluffy white with a pink stripe. And then we have another pink over here that's coming up through a bunch of lilies. The mailbox trellis is doing really well though. We got the Clematis coming into full bloom right now. Big purple showy flowers. And you know how I like my purple. And there is a lot of purple coming up on this right here. Got a creeping phlox down here. And this is phlox. I always call the wild Dame's Rocket phlox, but someone did correct me in one of my videos. But this has 5 petals and Dame's Rocket has 4, so that you can tell the difference there. But this is a creeping phlox, so it's a lot smaller and stays low to the ground. I have this Chameleon plant that is ground cover that seems to be really taking off this year. It is filling in this whole front corner. I have one on the other side too, but it's all stunted, but still alive. And I'll probably move this one somewhere else because this thing's filling in rather quickly all on its own. Both sides of the mailbox trellis, looking very beautiful with the Clematis. In the center out here, we have some blooms on the black lace elderberry. This is just the second year, but it is actually blooming pretty nicely. It's not too big yet, but I'm hoping next year it'll, geez, the focus. It's not too big yet, but I'm hoping next year it'll actually fill in this space pretty well. Must be a robin's nest in here somewhere because she is yelling. Got the Empress looking beautiful. There's that robin. Echo Pup's in here scaring off a robin that seems to have a nest in one of these trees. You can hear her yelling. There she is. They are not happy. I'll make this quick. My Royal Empress tree is doing amazing this year, leafing out all the way to the tips. Look at the trunk on this tree. This thing is amazing. So this tree is growing a sucker that'll snap off here. But this tree is its 4th year, and it has a 10-inch trunk, 10-inch diameter trunk, easy. It is just loving where it is, growing massive. 4 years old, grown from seed. All right, let's see if we can find this robin's nest real quick. See what she's working with. Oh, nothing in there. Must have another one somewhere. Ooh, mockingbird. Look at her up there. All prestigious and tall. Down here I kind of let the corner garden go. I feel terrible about it, but the weeds just came in too quick and thick, and I haven't been able to keep up with them without mulching. So this kind of garden needs a little bit of help real soon. Got the Sarah Smile Yellow Rose blooming though. Our red bud is growing pretty well. We transplanted this here, but it is growing out of the bottom, and I'm wondering if I should let these keep going. I'm thinking I'm going to let the suckers go to help fill out this tree because of its odd shape. I think I'm gonna actually bring in another trunk from that bottom sucker. We have a nice line of hollies and hydrangeas coming down here. I'm trying to keep it weeded, or trying to keep the weeds down so we can still see the lilies that are coming up behind there, and they don't take over everything, but I just can't mulch things. Here's the new oak tree that me and my dad plugged in here to try and block some more of the view going to the backyard. Up here at the pergola garden, it doesn't look too fresh right now because there's still some weeds coming up, and I didn't actually put a fresh layer of wood chips over here, but we have a lot of perennials coming up that are looking good anyway. Finally got that big plastic tarp that was covering up a wood pile out of here, and now I just have the fence wood that I saved from the front fence I took down, and this will get used again. But we're talking about plants. The honeysuckle is smelling beautiful right now. It is a nice yellow to white, and has a beautiful fragrance all the way around this area. Inside the honeysuckle, come around to this side. Oh, they hatched. We have a couple baby robins just hatching today. Look at that little fella. It's still half in its shell. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time here. I think the mama's probably trying to get back in here. I can hear her up in the hemlock tree. We also have babies in this gourd here. I don't know if I can see them in the dark gourd. I don't know if we saw them or not, but there was babies in there last time I looked. Up here next to that birdhouse gourd is a beautiful red trumpet vine that's just doing the exact shape that I want it to do, except for that arm. I want to fold that arm over. I want this whole thing to just kind of cascade falls over that pathway I have here. Not make a full arch, but I would just want it to dangle out. That'll look really nice this year. On the complete other side of the pergola, well, here the passion vine did not survive, which wasn't a big surprise. It's a tropical plant. But it did say it goes down to my zone, which is zone 6. But I don't know, it did not survive. So the crepe myrtle And all my crepe myrtles died back completely to the ground. You can tell me if this is normal, but they died back completely to the ground. They're not completely dead, but they're regenerating from the bottom, like a lot of plants I have here. I have some trees out in the landscape that are doing the same thing. On this side, we do have a full arch going here, though. This is the silver lace vine, and if you look closely, it's starting to bloom. Nice white, silvery lace flowers. This one will climb up the whole left side already across the top, and now I'm trying to get it to come down a little bit, down at least to the post level, to create a full arch effect as we walk through. We have a beautiful Echinacea that I planted last year popping up and putting off 4 beautiful strong colas, or whatever you call them, flower stems, stalks. And look at the color of leaf too. It's like this bluish sea green. I like it. It's a lot different than anything else out here, so I really like having that there. The grass is really starting to take over. I have a lot of volunteer calendula coming up here, and volunteer blueberries, tomatoes, because I left one go really long last year. I already planted an eggplant, a Black Beauty eggplant in here just yesterday. Got that going. And there's some volunteer gourds that I plugged in as well, right here next to the trellis. So we'll see if that does anything. And then I will actually be able to get my other gourds out here real soon. The ones that I've started in the greenhouse. We'll check those out later. I don't see any growth on the elephant ears that I put in here. I did put a row of calla lilies in here as well, which there's a sign of growth right there. I don't know how many will survive because they were the older ones, but those are coming up. There's some buds coming up on my firelight hydrangea, I believe this one is. Little fire something tag. Nothing. We had a lot of peonies blooming this week, but really they just came and gone because we had a little bit of a rainstorm come through with some wind, and blew all the petals right out of the flowers, so it kind of disappeared really quickly. Hosta bed's looking pretty nice. Got to get those volunteer Rose of Sharons out of there. Started to get the mushroom compost out around this area here, but I'm not quite ready to plant it out. Me and my dad got a nice big oak tree planted out here on the east front line, and hopefully that's going to get nice and big and healthy and cover up that whole hillside out there. Big red barberry doing good. Here's a peony that's still surviving. Ooh, spiderwort. So this did survive. I got this spiderwort from somebody as a gift, and I put 3 of them in here, and it looks like 2 of them are alive. So these spiderworts are going to spread out here pretty nicely, maybe even straight across. I'll have to help them, but they're going to fill in pretty vigorously throughout the years as they get established. I have a white peony down here. It's kind of speckled and dirty now, but this is the only one lasting out of this plant, and actually the whole perennial garden. I'm beginning to think this is a weed. Fairly certain at this point. I left it go thinking it might be a plant just because it grew up right at one of my tags, but yeah, I think that's actually a weed. See, I had a peony here with a lot of nice buds on it. Maybe that one's still a bud, but a lot of these are finished up. I have a golden spirea all covered in blooms. It looks beautiful right now. I know the bees and other pollinators do love this, so they'll be all over it. Behind that, the Liatris is starting to put up some buds as well, which I know the pollinators love these. Hoping these start doing a lot better so I can actually separate them out. I would like to get these in a lot of places. I am on year 3 or 4 with these thujas, and I'm still waiting for some big leap of growth. The rhododendrons only seem to last about a week and a half this year, and they're gone. Even the azalea, the white azalea in there, lasted longer than that. But they're all finished up. This dogwood's looking real healthy and big this year. I'm hoping to get some buds on it so I can have a bloom next year. And the lilac as well. We pruned this way back because it had a lot of dead in it. So we got it pruned way back, and now it just turned into a jungle. So I'm wondering if this is gonna bloom at all next year too. So I got lucky and planted out my tomatoes and peppers without ever hardening them off. I got lucky because the next day was overcast and did not scorch them, and it gave them a little bit of time to establish outside before the sun came back. So now I'm hardening off the plants that I have left here from the greenhouse. I have a big tray of dwarf zinnias. I have some pumpkins and squash that need to go out, some watermelons and gourds, and some more pumpkins and squash that have to go out as well, anywhere I can put them. I have some butterfly weeds, some more dahlias that are struggling in their small containers, and some zinnias, calendula. I just have a lot of these plants here that need to go out into the landscape somewhere or anywhere, or they're just going to start dying in their small pots. So that's kind of what I'm going to be doing today, is getting these out where I need them, and try and just fill in the day with planting in a bunch of different locations. So I'm going to be plugging in those plants around the property today, just trying to get them out of their small containers. If you're wondering why I'm in a hoodie, it's because it's a high of 72 today, and we haven't reached that high yet. I don't take my hoodie off unless it's 72 degrees. Coming down into the vegetable garden, we do have some plants down here, but they're still just getting started. I did water them, and hopefully they'll be able to survive and start growing here soon. Coming inside, you're greeted with some dianthus that is putting on some color. We have this beautiful candy cane striped one and a bright pink one. So they're looking real nice to greet you right when you walk in. So we'll go left, and the asparagus bed is full. You can see it ferning out. We have a bunch of peas down here that look to be ready, so I'll be able to put these ones with the ones in the cold frame and have some peas tonight for dinner. I can even grab some chard and put that in for dinner as well. And you can see we have plenty of lettuce. I actually did not harvest my radishes in time, so they'll be going to the pigs. And yeah, they're getting woody, sharp, and you don't want to be eating those. There's some beets in here that seem to be not getting enough sun because they're not bulbing up real well. So I do want to cut back a lot of these. Look at these. Let's go ahead and pull one of these out. There we go. We got some turnips. Some turnips in there, and the pigs can have those too because they're super woody. So I'm going to be pulling out some of these root vegetables so I can give room to the other root vegetables that are shorter, like the beets. And then I need to cut back a lot of these greens, give them to the chickens, the ducks, the pigs, and I can eat a lot of them too. So I'll be putting a lot of kale and the Swiss chard in my smoothies, and then I'll be eating a lot of the lettuces for I put greens on a lot of things, so got to eat a lot of greens. We still have the volunteer squashes coming out of this bed right there and there. I just really don't have a reason to pull them. We have calendula blooming. Beautiful. So the carrots are growing up. I reach in here and I weed some of the grass out occasionally, but yeah, they're just on their own. I need to come down here and water everything today. The J bed is doing well. I need to come down here and water this one too because it's looking pretty dry, but I think a lot of my onions survived. I didn't water these as much as maybe I should have. I still have some time, so I'm going to get these watered today, and hopefully I can save as many as possible. All the cabbage and the broccoli still look pretty good. I know it's kind of warm for them, but I threw them in just to see how they do, and the broccoli's definitely taking off, getting bigger. And the cabbage is starting to put on some new growth, it looks like, as well. And I got my straight bed moved. So we are down here along the fence line. We got the straight bed in, and I filled it up. In the top corner here, I have a Jaguar Marigold and then a Geranium Kiss tomato. Calendula in the corner, Calendula. And then I plugged in a bunch of onions all across here because I still had them in the greenhouse. They won't do great, but if they do attach, I will still be able to get a lot of salad onions out of them and not actually waste anything. Right here is the zucchini. This whole bed needs some water too. I gotta water today because we're not supposed to get rain for a few days yet, so I need to water. In the whole center row is Brussels sprouts. And then my aunt gave me a sweet pepper, which is a pippin pepper. So that's going to be a sweet pepper that you can snack on. So I plugged that one in there. In the back there you can see my cucumbers. You can see that they got a little bit of sun scorch, and that's why I didn't separate the cucumbers. So hopefully I'll just get one out of the groups to survive, and I'll go with that one. On this end here is a very dry Calendula and a Ace 55 tomato. And then I plugged in a pumpkin right here, that's a zucchini. And another pumpkin up there and little one. So I'm just gonna have those pumpkins sprawl right out of the box and all through the grass here. I'm still working on getting the squash mound planted out. You saw I have all the plants ready, but I'm just gonna put fabric over the whole top of the mound and then burn holes in it and put compost on the holes and plant in them. Hey birdie. What are you trying to say, Mockingbird? Okay, over here in the pumpkin patch, I kind of gave up on weeding it out. I did spray it dead, but not all of it died. So instead of trying to till any of it, I'm not worried about that. So I just laid the fabric all the way down. I burned 4 holes through the fabric because these are Dill's Atlantic pumpkins and they're going to get big. So I left them with a lot of space. These ones are going to sprawl down the hill, and then those two, if I can get them to survive and grow out nice and large, they're going to fill out the whole pumpkin patch area here. Like I said before in a previous video, I didn't get my expensive pumpkin seeds to survive just because I was bad at germinating them and forgot about them. But I just went with some Dill's Atlantic from the store to still have a pumpkin growing, and maybe I can get better at growing pumpkins before I grow the expensive ones next time. My volunteers are starting to take here in the vegetable strip, and they're looking nice and healthy. I have no idea what these are, but it doesn't matter. Whatever they are, I'll still have a use for them because I have 4 pigs, 32 chickens, 13 ducks, and a goose right now. So I'll be able to feed something with whatever comes out of here. There's not much to say about the border going around the garden fence yet. I need to water some more, and that would probably get a little bit more growth out of things. I just hate stretching hoses across the property. To get a hose down here, I need 300 feet, and it's just annoying to stretch hoses. So plants really just have to do the best they can. But once spring rain is over here, we really get skipped over by a lot of the storms. We don't get consistent rain. We get like a heavy storm here, or we just get misted and can watch the thunderstorm roll right around the sky and skip right over us. So it really sucks having to water everything, but water is life, and you need water to have beautiful things. So we are out here in the south garden now, where me and my dad got these large maple trees pulled out of the nursery and planted out here. So we got 7 going down this line, and then we have 3 more out there in a triangle pattern. And I planted 6 Norway spruce in a line behind those. And there's a rhododendron out there underneath that mature pine as well that I just got in the ground. We also have a dawn redwood to the right of the blue flag. Right there is our dawn redwood. That's a deciduous evergreen. So I'm starting to get some different trees out here to try and get things shaped out. I'm going to be putting an evergreen line all the way down this east row here behind the maple trees. So that's going to be all Norway spruce to try and frame in the whole property. I really want a private garden feel. I don't want it to be open to everything. So this side will get framed in with a bunch of trees as well. I just haven't been able to really decide on what I want to do with that side yet. But I know this side facing the road and the houses, I want to block off completely with evergreens that will last all year long. So I'm trying to get these larger trees out here and started so that we can get some structure to the south area, or the south garden I'm calling it. There's not really anything going on here yet, but it will be a garden eventually. So you have to just imagine it with me. But before I can start actually putting anything I really want out here, we are going to be digging a large field pond. So out here below pretty much the center of the property, below the barn, away from the house, down the field, is a lower wet spot. And I think we might have a natural seep or very light spring coming through here, because it's never dry, even during the dry season. And the whole ground everywhere else is cracked and dry, but up here in this center area we always have good grass growth, and it's always wet. So what we did last year was dig a deep hole. Oh, there's froggies. We have a bunch of green frogs in here, and they've been hanging out. So what we did last year was dig a trench. So we dug this trench over here, and it's about 3-4 feet deep, and we wanted to see if it would fill up with water and stay full of water. And as you can see, we haven't had rain for maybe 3 days, and it is still filled with water. But the pond's gonna be deeper than 3 feet, so we dug as deep as we could go with the backhoe, which turns out to be about 9 feet or so. And that is deep, puppy, don't fall. You gotta test your ground, buddy. And test it before you go in. Yeah, you're running out. I do not want to go in there for you. Yeah, puppy, come on. So yeah, this is a deep hole. It's about 9 feet deep, and it's holding water completely too. I dug out that end there, puppy. I dug the other side out for you, so the dogs and the deer had a safe entrance to come and drink out of it. And you can see it's holding water all the way to ground level or field level out here. I think if we dig a pond out here, it should hold water, and it won't be the cleanest, nicest pond, but I think it'll be stockable, and we'll be able to have fish out here, and I'll be able to water the garden from right out of the pond. So I think if we dig a big pond out here, now I'm talking probably eventually 100 by 80 or something, a decent sized pond, but right now I'll probably just dig it out to, I don't know, 20 by 20, just to make it a rounder pond, so it's not this weird trench. It's a U shape right now with a kind of peninsula that I'm sitting on. So yeah, it's a little weird, so I want to kind of just open it up so it looks like a small watering hole for now. And then maybe I can bring the ducks down here and the goose whenever they're a little bit bigger and have their full feathers. I'll be able to bring them out and let them swim around on the pond. All right, that's going to be all for this garden tour. Thanks for coming along and seeing what the garden's doing and listening to me talk about how I want to make it better. So if you want to follow along with the botanical paradise that I'm building here, go ahead and subscribe down below. Hit that like button before you leave, and you can see more weekly garden tours during the growing season here on Whitt Acres Garden Tours. You can see me and Echo on the next one. Thanks.